The floors of the Vrexel's wrath never stayed clean for long. Blood, slime, oil, more blood. Mara didn't ask where it came from. It wasn't her job to care. Just clean it up and move to the next sector before the slavers got bored again. The Kharkiv weren't known for patience, or kindness, or anything remotely resembling morality. 8-foot insectoid tyrants with layered chitin, mandibles that clicked when they laughed, and a taste for cruelty. They turned slavery into a full-fledged economy after the Terran collapse. Mara, one of the last surviving humans from the mining colonies on Europa, was spared for being unthreatening. Translation: easy to control and small enough to clean crawl spaces. She hated that they saw her that way. Hated even more that she played along. Today, she was scrubbing out a holding cell, a cold, circular room that still reeked of something reptilian. Her glove stuck to the wall where acid burns hadn't fully healed. She moved slowly, every motion careful. Too fast, and the Kharkiv would think she was hiding something. Too slow, and they'd think she was resisting. The security door slid open behind her. She didn't look up. 3 of them entered. She knew the sound. Heavy footfalls on metal, the hiss of powered armor servos. Commander Yilzek, leader of the elite Red Claw unit, stepped in first. His armor gleamed. He was decorated, ruthless, and notoriously sadistic. The other 2 flanked him, grunts who didn't matter enough to learn names. "Human," Yilzek said. His voice buzzed through a translator node. "What a good little drone you are. So obedient. So small." She kept scrubbing. "I wonder," he continued, circling her slowly, "are you this obedient for your masters? Or are you just too broken to fight back?" He stopped behind her. Something sharp prodded her back. "You miss your kind, don't you? The soft ones. The brave ones. All gone now." Mara froze. Her hand clenched around the scrub wand. Yilzek noticed. "Oh, did I strike a nerve?" The blow came without warning. A clawed fist struck her across the jaw, slamming her into the floor. Her vision swam. She didn't cry out. The second hit came to her ribs. She tasted copper. "You think this is unwise?" Yilzek mocked to the others. "She's a janitor. Her species are extinct vermin. This is recreation." They laughed. A dry, crackling sound like bones breaking. They took turns, stomping, slapping, taunting. Not enough to kill. Just enough to remind her of her place. When it was over, she lay crumpled against the wall, bleeding from her lip, one eye swollen shut. The door hissed as they left, their laughter echoing through the corridor. Silence returned. And then movement. Very slowly, Mara slid her hand into her boot. Hidden in the sole, beneath a false layer, was a slim, battered device no larger than her thumb. Barely a signal booster by modern standards, but it didn't need to be strong. Just precise. She clicked it once. A green light blinked, then went solid. Connection made. A faint smile cracked her bruised lips. "He'll come," she whispered. The asteroid colony was dead quiet, save for the faint hum of buried life support systems and the low thrum of forgotten machines. It was the kind of place nobody looked twice at. That's why Ronan had chosen it. He sat cross-legged in a hollowed-out cargo bay, surrounded by crates of dust-covered tools, cracked armor plating, and ancient Earth relics that meant nothing now. In his hands, he held a worn photograph of Mara. No frames, no digital filters, just a printed image of her smiling in a jumpsuit, covered in grease, middle finger up. He hadn't looked at it in weeks. It hurt too much. Then the light blinked on the far wall, green, pulsing, insistent. Signal received. Ronan stood without a word. The photograph slipped from his fingers and fluttered to the floor. 5 minutes later, the armory opened. Dust exploded outward as the vault seals disengaged with a heavy clang. Inside was what the galaxy had nearly forgotten: Terran war tech, the kind outlawed after the collapse. Power cores thrummed back to life as if sensing their old master. He stepped in. There was no ceremony, no music, just muscle memory. He strapped on the reinforced exosuit first. Matte black polyfiber mesh woven with kinetic dampeners. Then the Juggernaut core, a back-mounted fusion pack that fed into the spinal interface. He winced as the needles bit in, nerve sync complete. Then the helmet. flat-faced, expressionless, terrifying. He'd been called a lot of things when the Earth Defense Force was still breathing. Monster, weapon, last resort. But mostly, they called him Juggernaut because when he moved, no one stood in his way. The ship was small, built for speed and silence. Blackbird-class raider, one of only 5 ever made. He called it the Burrower. Mara had painted the nose art herself, a stylized mole with a rocket launcher. She said it was so they know what's about to hit them. Now it sat waiting, dormant in the asteroid hangar, until Ronan stepped aboard. He dropped into the pilot's seat, booted systems, and pulled up the signal tracker. It had been embedded in Mara's comlink, an ancient bit of Earth espionage tech. The signal was weak, bouncing through slave beacon channels, but clear enough. Vrexel's Wrath, Karkath vessel, heavy cruiser class, trafficker route. He stared at the name, jaw tight. He remembered the last time he saw that ship, hovering in orbit over Europa, launching drop pods into the mining colonies. One of them had almost taken Mara. She escaped then. Others didn't. Now they had her. He gripped the control stick. Big mistake. Before departure, he stood before the final case. The last weapon, the one he had buried even deeper than the rest. Project HARROW. He opened the crate. Inside was a cannon-length rifle, taller than he was, lined with fused Terran Karkath hybrid tech. Built during the early days of the war, it had been deemed too unpredictable. He had stolen it anyway. He clipped it to his back and whispered, just one more time. As the Burrower lifted from the hangar, its engines flaring blue against the black, Ronan spoke aloud for the first time that day. Mara, he said, voice like gravel. I'm coming. The Vrexel's Wrath floated silently through the starless void, a monstrous shadow of iron and bone. Inside, its hulls pulsed with activity, slavers counting profits, slaves shackled in cells, and guards laughing in dark corners. Mara lay on the floor of her cell, bruised but not broken. The metal was cold beneath her cheek. She could still taste blood. Her ribs screamed every time she breathed, but her eyes, they burned with something new. Hope. Far out in the black, the Burrower appeared, silent, stealth systems engaged, hull almost invisible against the void. Inside, Ronan stared at the massive cruiser, HUD flickering data across his visor. He didn't bother with docking protocols. This wasn't a rescue. This was punishment. He activated the boarding spear, a compact, guided spike of reinforced alloy tipped with an explosive charge. It launched from the Burrower like a bullet, slammed through the outer hull of the Vrexel's Wrath, and embedded itself with a screeching burst of pressure. Then detonation. The hull ruptured. Ronan launched himself through the breach, boots magnetizing to the interior wall as the ship's alarm screamed to life. Inside the Vrexel's Wrath, panic bloomed. Intruder alert, Sector 7, the automated voice repeated in Karkathian. Yilzek, standing in the command bridge, hissed in fury. Who dares breach this ship? In the corridors, Ronan moved like death given form. One slaver rounded the corner, weapon raised. Ronan didn't slow. A pulse shot from his wrist cannon tore through the alien's chest, sending it skidding across the floor. A second Karkath leapt from above. Ronan caught him midair and slammed him through a bulkhead with bone-cracking force. The wall dented. More came. 10, maybe 12. Ronan activated the Juggernaut core. His armor hissed with power. He became a blur of violence. The slaver screamed, fired, retreated. It didn't matter. Plasma rounds glanced off his armor. Blade shattered on impact. He was an unstoppable force, methodical, brutal, and exact. The halls turned red with alien blood. In her cell, Mara heard the chaos through the walls. The explosions, the screaming, the sound of bodies slamming into metal. She sat up slowly, hands trembling. He came. Yilzek watched the security feed in stunned silence. One human, just one, tearing through his elite like they were nothing. He saw the armor, the faceplate, the cannon on the man's back. Recognition flared. Juggernaut, he hissed. That can't be possible. He died with the Earth. No, the Earth died. He survived. Yilzek barked into the comms. Reroute all forces to Corridor 11. cut him off from the prison's sector. Ronan didn't care about their tactics. He cut through the side corridors, using his HUD to triangulate Mara's location. Her signal, weak but steady, glowed on his map like a heartbeat. 2 more guards blocked the cell wing. He fired once. The blast melted the door behind them. They never had a chance. The cell door opened with a hiss. Mara blinked at the figure standing in the doorway. Tall, armored, eyes glowing like twin suns behind the visor. Ronan, he dropped to one knee and pulled her into his arms. You held on, he said softly. You took your time, she murmured, wincing as she leaned into him. She felt the way his body tensed, heard the rage barely caged in his breath. I'm going to kill them all, he said. I figured, she said. But the captain, Yilzek, he's running. Ronan looked up. Not for long. In the distance, the sound of engines charged. The escape hangar. Ronan hoisted Mara gently into his arms. Time to end this. The walls of the Vrexel's wrath trembled as systems failed one by one. Fires bloomed in ruptured corridors. Slavers fled in chaos, abandoning posts, weapons, even their own. Yilzek wasn't among them. He stormed through the upper deck toward the escape hangar, claws tapping out a furious rhythm. His guards, what was left of them, rushed to keep up. He's just one human, he growled. One. I will not be undone by a relic. But even as he said it, doubt crept in. That armor, that weapon, that name. Juggernaut. He remembered the war. Everyone did. Stories of Terran Black Ops monsters who didn't break, didn't bleed, and didn't stop. They were myths now, dead with their doomed planet. Yet here he was, and he had come for blood. Ronan moved fast, boots pounding the floor. Mara clung to his back in a makeshift sling, her breathing shallow but steady. I'm fine, she muttered. Go faster. Bossy, he said. Married. They reached the final corridor leading to the hangar. Ahead, 2 armored Karkith with plasma pikes and reinforced plating. Behind, fire, smoke, and ruin. Ronan dropped a shoulder and charged. The first slaver thrust missed. Ronan caught the second's weapon, spun, and slammed him into the bulkhead hard enough to bend steel. The last one backed away, too late. Ronan's fist shattered his chest plate. He stepped over the bodies and approached the sealed hangar door. Beyond it, the final target, Mara tapped into the panel beside him. Even injured, her fingers moved fast, bypassing Karkith code, tricking the system into thinking she was authorized. The door hissed open. Inside the hangar, Commander Yilzek stood at the ramp of his sleek escape cruiser, 2 elite guards at his sides. He turned slowly, mandibles twitching. So he said, You came for your pet. Ronan stepped forward, setting Mara gently behind a crate. You laid hands on my wife. Yilzek drew twin plasma blades, arcing with fire. She's nothing. You're nothing. Your species is extinct. Then let me show you what a ghost can do. The battle erupted. Yilzek charged, blades flashing. Ronan blocked the first with his forearm plating, countered with a punch that sent sparks flying. The guard joined in. One slashed Ronan's back, the other fired at his legs. Ronan roared. He spun, grabbing one by the throat and flinging him into the cruiser. The hull dented inward. The other tried to run. Ronan shot him in the spine mid-step. Yilzek struck again, fast, brutal. He wasn't just a commander. He was a killer. Blade after blade, strike after strike, he battered Ronan back toward the edge of the hangar. You're slower than the legends claimed, Yilzek taunted. Ronan dropped low. Not slower. Click. Smarter. He fired a sonic charge into the deck. The blast knocked Yilzek back, stunned just long enough. Ronan activated the Juggernaut core. His armor pulsed red. Power surged. He charged, shoulder first, slamming Yilzek into the engine scaffold. The alien shrieked, blades scraping uselessly across Ronan's chest. Ronan ripped the plasma sword from Yilzek's hand and drove it through his gut. Yilzek's mandibles clicked in shock. You can't. I did. Ronan twisted the blade and let him fall. The hangar went silent. Ronan turned, bloodied, scorched, and walked back to Mara. She looked at him like he was gravity itself. Is it done? He nodded. They won't touch you again. They found the ship's slave control panel. Mara, limping but alert, keyed in the override codes. Cell doors across the cruiser hissed open. Dozens, maybe hundreds of captives stumbled out into freedom. She looked to Ronan. What now? He glanced at the escape cruiser, then back at the burning ship. We give them a ride home. As they lifted off, the Vrexel's wrath exploded behind them. A final, fitting funeral for a vessel built on suffering. In the cockpit, Mara leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. Not bad for a janitor, she murmured. Ronan smiled beneath the visor. Not bad for a ghost.